here, the hedges are really starting to sort of march out into the field, and doing so in a kind of wedge shape, which is what you would get in nature. This kind of like cheese shaped pattern of growth, as the older parts of the hedge are much taller than than the the younger parts of the hedge as it moves out into the field. But you can still see in quite a few areas the marks where previously the field was mown every year to keep the grass short, for no reason other than to just kind of keep it tidy, because the cuttings weren't actually used for anything, weren't used for livestock or anything like that, because it's got horsetail on it, which is a toxic native plant, which is inedible to livestock. So here you can see that you've still got this kind of wall here, and then you've got this gradient here as it kind of comes out into the field, as this blackthorn sort of edges out. It's really beautiful here at the moment, especially with the hawthorns we got in every hedge. So these hedges are made up of blackthorn and hawthorn. There's only 2 woody species in, which means that in theory these hedges aren't actually that old. And if you look at old aerial images, there's actually a very old set of aerial images from the 1930s and 1920s of this area, taken by by a company which was set up specifically to make money from aerial photography and of places and aerial cinema. If you look at those aerial videos, you'll find that this area here only had a hedge on this side, and the hedges on this side are quite a modern invention, and they've appeared over the last over the last 100 years. What you find is that as a hedge gets older, it naturally acquires more woody species. It will increase in its biodiversity and its diversity of woody species, and there's this sort of formula which you can use for working out the age of the hedge, which is basically taking I think it's a 30-meter stretch of hedge, and then multiplying it by a certain number or dividing it by a certain number, and it tells you the age of the hedge in centuries, basically. So these ones here, I know for a fact that they're not that old, and that is reflected in that woody plant diversity. But the plants which are there, the hawthorn, I've let them grow up, and you can see these white flowered trees are the hawthorn, and they've got so much flower at this time of year, and that's fantastic because all of those flowers are going to turn into berries. Well, most of those flowers will turn into berries later in the year, which will be fantastic because we'll have lots of starlings. All the starlings come in. All of these wonderful winter birds and autumn birds come in huge flocks. They all land on the hedgerows and finish off these hawthorns. And starlings are actually, I believe, either on the amber or the red list in the UK. So they're a species which seems like it's very common, but it's declining. It needs as much habitat as it can get. You can see that a lot of the trees within the field are really starting to grow up now. This isn't the best patch to show that, really, because well, I suppose that's quite interesting in itself. Like, there are areas where the trees are really grown up, but this is not one of them. You can see that they're barely out of their trees, and the reason for that is that the goats kept getting into this area. So I've got neighbours with goats in the next field across, and those goats unfortunately kept escaping into this bit of land. And you might expect that goats would be thwarted by the tree tubes, but it turns out that they can happily climb up and sort of rest on the edge of the tree tube and use it as a very convenient resting place so that they can get a proper meal. So there's an area over here which they didn't quite get to. I'll show you the trees here. They're much more mature, mainly hazel in this area. So it's the beginning of the top section of the field, which is mainly a hazel coppice, and the bottom section of the field is mainly what I call beaver woodland, which is riparian woodland. It's trees which like wet roots, things which tend to grow at the edges of water, and therefore are used to being coppiced naturally by beavers. Aspen, birch, willow, alder, things like that, which is very resilient to being coppiced, very resilient to being cut down to the base and coming back up again when it does so. So you can see, lovely view there of the field. as it is at the moment. And here's the pond behind. The ponds are very low at the moment. Probably talk about that in another video. Right, that's me for today. It's nice to share with you. Lovely evening. I'll just stop for a second so you can hear the bird song. We got lesser whitethroat, dunnock, all these lovely songbirds which have beautiful calls. I don't know what that one was. Possibly a Chetty's warbler. We do have a Chetty's warbler as well, which likes to sort of pop along all of the way along the edges, and we've got a reed warbler calling in one of the corners as well. So much bird diversity, so much bird abundance on this field. It's been fantastic to see everything coming back since the hedges have been let go. Or let go. I am actively managing them, but yeah, since they are coming out into the land, thickening out, creating much needed habitat for birds.